It's Impact with the Florida Star, the largest, oldest, and most read African-American newspaper in Northeast Florida and South Georgia. And now, here's the host, the publisher of the award-winning Florida Star, Clara McLaughlin.
We got the good brother pastor, James B. Sampson. So you know this is going to be a great show, so y'all make sure y'all stay tuned in. Pick up a copy of the Florida Star newspaper every week. Make sure you continue to support us. Make sure you always log into our Facebook page. We're also on Instagram and Twitter. Always have some good stuff, a lot of stuff that you will never see in the newspaper. We put online now. And make sure you get a subscription so the newspaper can come to your door. You don't have to wait for the delivery driver to get there. You know, you can get it ahead of time. So call us at 766-8834. That's 904-766-8834. All right, y'all, we are in the middle of an election season. People are running for different offices. And right now, we're going to be talking to Pastor James B. Sampson. How you doing, sir?
I'm fine. What about yourself?
I'm doing well. So you guys just had an MLK breakfast. Tell us a little bit about what happened at your breakfast.
Wow, the breakfast was awesome in so many different ways. We had an opportunity to address so many different issues. 20 years ago, we started our own because we felt as though the city was not allocating and appropriating funds right, and of course we needed a platform to address the African American issues. And so for the last 20 years we've been like a strong advocate for the black community. The things you was talking to Andrew about were the same thing that we push on a daily basis: economic empowerment, public safety, education, and most of all, we're investing in our communities. The things you talked about, us targeting certain areas. Emmanuel Cleaver, the congressman from St. Louis, actually from Kansas City. When he was mayor of Kansas City, he designated the green zone. It was 125 blocks. But he turned around and invested $150 million in those 25 blocks. And 20 years later, that community is thriving because I believe success is not accidental, but it's intentional.
Right. So you heard a little bit about what Anna had to say, and we were talking about the economics. Talk about what's needed when we talk about the money that is needed on the north side to kind of do what needs to be done to really bring it to life.
Well, let's be real candid. White folk don't trust black people with money. And so when you look
we're going to have to get over that.
Right, because when you look at it from the perspective, we don't get any contracts. Last year alone, the city gave the Jaguars some $40-50 million. None of that money went to black contractors. When it comes to nonprofits, there are no black nonprofits at the table. They all come in up under a white nonprofit. So you don't have any resources to meet the needs of our community. And if I can be real candid, the real problem with crime in our community is that we have white people trying to tell us how to solve the problems in our community. 3 years ago, we gave Lenny Curry a plan to reduce crime and violence by 25%. Three-pronged approach: jobs, joint ventures, and justice. He looked at us until he got out of his office. And so he's not really concerned about reducing crime and violence. If he was, he would not have insulted the community by giving us $300,000 to address the crime issue.
Right. Let me back up a little bit. Tell us a little bit about who you are. Where were you raised? Who are you?
Well, I'm just a voice crying in the wilderness. I was born in Jacksonville, grew up in Brentwood Projects, and went to Jackson and Stanton and FCCJ. And so this is my home for almost 60 years. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I've also seen good mayors who were intentional. Many years ago, Springfield was infested with prostitutes and drug dealers. Now you see white folk on horse and buggies riding through Springfield. That was intentional. Whenever you be real about trying to make a difference, difference, you have to put your money where your mouth is at. And since consolidation, over 50 plus years, we still have the tank issues, we still have drainage, we still have road problems. And to be honest with you, not one mayor since Hans Tandler has really done anything to help us on the north side as it relates to the promises that was made with consolidation.
How much money you think is needed when you talk about doing the big dig projects, doing all the big stuff that you need to do out there to really make the north side be what it needs to be? How much money are we talking about, you think?
I would say the last 2 or 3 years he's given Sheriff Mike Williams almost $60 million. So I say around 35 or 40 million a year. And that's just a tip of the iceberg. That's just to do infrastructure. That has nothing to do with us bringing the thing on the top of the ground. The reality is without infrastructure, you can't bring any kind of development to our communities. And so it has to be targeted. Think about this a minute. JEA is sitting on $2.5 billion.
$2 billion, right.
$2.5 billion. They have some in another fund. Watch this. That thing is worth almost $12-15 billion. They want to sell it before the city get it. At the end of the day, it's our greatest asset. And of course, the promises are made that from the profits from JEA, we would then go back and mitigate some of the ills on the north side. But it does not happen. And so Dr. King says that you've written us a check that came back marked insufficient funds. But it's not insufficient funds. The reality is we have not prioritized how we're going to spend the funds. When the Jaguars needed a big screen TV, we gave them millions. When they needed a swimming pool, we gave them millions. And so, think about it. When it comes to the north side, we don't have the willpower to do right by people of color. And so hopefully the next mayor will be more compassionate and have a more common sense approach to the things that's causing us not to be where we need to be at.
We have to be aggressive. We need a mayor that's aggressive. And when I talk about creating black millionaires, that's not something that's far-fetched.
Well, in every progressive city, whether it's Atlanta, Chicago, Charlotte, Houston, they have progressive pulpits.
Right, yeah.
Now, without progressive pulpits, our people can't progress.
Tell us your church. I don't think you mentioned the name of your church.
Oh, First New Zion Missionary Baptist Church.
What is it again?
First New Zion Missionary Baptist Church.
What you guys do at that church? What your ministries are?
Well, we have a lot of different ministries. The normal ministries, we have youth ministry, we have marriage, singing, all those things. But I think what set us apart is that we believe in the truth of the gospel. We live it out. I'm not an activist because I'm trying to be a Christian. I am an activist because I am a Christian. I believe Jesus was a master liberator.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
and so he was concerned. Matthew 25 was about the least of these. When I was hungry, when I was naked, when I was outdoors. We have not developed an appetite in our pulpits to confront the powers that be. And because we have not done it, we have 840 miles of potential.
Right. Don't we hear that a lot?
840 square miles of potential.
Right.
But the reality is without the progressiveness in the pulpits to challenge the powers that be, to do better, they won't do better.
Man, I'm going to tell you, I went to some meeting with the mayor and you were like the first one to stand up. And I think you asked some question and made a comment. The whole entire place started clapping. And now, you've been a critic of Mayor Curry since the beginning.
Well, not since the beginning. But once he started trying to bamboozle us with the tax referendum, he wasn't truthful about that. Of course, he had some of my colleagues to stand with him. Now, the thing that's going to change Jacksonville, I believe, is when the black pulpits take their rightful place and hold everybody accountable, whether it be Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever.
How do you do that when everybody's sitting on their own fiefdoms? That's a whole lot of chiefs. That's a lot of chiefs. And you know when you're dealing with chiefs, it's like herding cats. That's a hard thing to do. But you can pull enough of them together to make something happen in Jacksonville, because it's a lot.
Well, we watched this Saturday, last Saturday at the Hyatt Hotel. There was about 700 influential folk there who are ready now to make a change. And of course, oftentimes, and the truth be told, let me just be honest with you, I've been preaching for 40 years, and I've seen strong preachers in the pulpit who challenge the power of the be. But the reality is now we've replaced pillars with twigs. There's a whole lot of brothers who just want to just take photo ops with the mayor, but they won't hold them accountable. And so our responsibility as prophets, not as priests and bishops, but as prophets, is to hold the king responsible.
How do you lead something like that? And we have, say, 700. That's big, and that made it. That number of leaders can do anything. How do you hold something like that together? How do you pull them together where they're flying like a flock of birds?
Well, for the last 11 years, I led about 850 pastors across the state of Florida. It can be done. That's
right. Tell us. That's the Baptist Convention.
The Florida General Baptist Convention is the largest convention in the state of Florida. Almost 1 million black Baptists. And so it
And you ran that?
Well,
so you are already a legend in Jackson?
No.
Already?
No. I'm just a voice crying in the wilderness.
Yes, sir.
and so the reality is this. Many of us are suffering from the illusion of inclusion. When we get a chance to go sit in the mayor's skybox at the Jaguar games, we get a chance to be invited somewhere, and that's enough for some of us. But for others, no, as long as our black contractors don't get contracts, they can't have apprenticeship programs, they can't create journeymen, and so we're losing out on every level. And until we get the fortitude to match our faith, to say to the mayor, whether it be Brochet, whether it be Kerr, whether it be whoever, we won't stand for us being neglected in the long run.
And then going after us with the prosecutor's office and the FBI agents, the way they've done so many of our elected officials here for a little bit of money. I can see if you're saying a couple $100 million, okay, we can talk, because that's what y'all get in trouble for. Don't be trying to get us in trouble for no little bit of stuff.
Well, at the end of the day, we just have to dot every I and cross every T.
It's impossible to do when somebody else make rules and they can change the rules. This is impossible to do. And then when a judge goes in and say, well, I can take this person out of your jury that will hang your jury. That's illegal. But with the criminal justice system, it's been used as a tool against us. Let you have the last word.
Well, my last word is simply this to my colleagues of Calvary. Let's move beyond our pulpits. Let's take our rightful places as prophetic voices so that we can cause Jacksonville to be more progressive for all of us. I would simply say this, as Maynard Jackson did in Atlanta, Georgia, and so if there's going to be a millionaires, every white millionaire, there got to be at least one black. Other than that, the crime and the violence would never go down.
Right, because the biggest connection to crime is economics.
Economics.
Pastor James B. Sampson, thank you, sir. All right, y'all, we got to get out of here. This is Opio. We will see you next time on Impact.